The Starbucks mermaid is hiding an unsettling secret so bizarre that once you uncover it, you'll never see her the same way again. And she's not the only one. Get ready for hidden details, strange origins, and mind-blowing mysteries hiding in plain sight in this all-new episode of Amazing Secrets Hidden in Everyday Things. Holy signs. For many of us, driving is just another part of our daily routine. But have you ever noticed a road sign with holes in it like this? If so, you might have assumed it was the unfortunate victim of some roadside target practice. And yes, in Alabama that's probably indeed the case. But surprise, while bullets are sometimes to blame, in other cases those holes are actually there by design. Though not found everywhere, these perforated signs are more common in parts of the US where strong winds can wreak havoc. A solid road sign doesn't stand much of a chance against extreme gusts, and if it's ripped from its post, it can create serious safety issues, especially if it flies into traffic or pedestrians. To prevent this, some areas use perforated signs as a clever solution. The holes let gusts pass through, distributing the wind pressure and reducing resistance so signs stay firmly in place. Even the poles holding them up sometimes have them too. They're mostly used for freestanding road signs or those attached to traffic light poles like this example seen in Maine. So if you ever do spot one of these road signs, rest assured it's not vandalism, just a whole lot of clever engineering. Curious codes. You see them everywhere, at restaurants, on tickets, ads, and even gravestones now. QR or quick response codes are the ultimate digital shortcut. But have you ever wondered what's really hiding in those pixelated patterns? QR codes were invented in 1994 by Japanese engineer Masahiro Hara. Originally designed to allow scanners to identify car parts, the design inspiration came to Masahiro after he observed people playing the classic game Go. It's easy to see the resemblance. Today, QR codes have become an everyday tech staple, but they're also hiding smart design tricks in plain sight. Creating a QR code is a mathematical process quite similar to the classic barcode. The data, usually a URL link, is converted into binary, then arranged using complex algorithms, depicting information as dots along the vertical and horizontal axes. The final result? A seemingly random pattern of black and white squares. All modern smartphones have built-in QR readers, so when you scan a QR code, your camera instantly deciphers it and, hey presto, it takes you straight to its digital destination. While the overall pattern varies from code to code, there's another part of the design that is always the same no matter what. These three distinctive corner squares. These act as position markers, helping scanners instantly recognize the code's orientation. No matter how you hold your phone, these squares ensure the QR code is read correctly. So next time you scan one, you'll know there's a lot more going on than seems possible in the short time your phone takes to carry out the code's command. And I bet you'll never look at a game of Go the same again. Little red lies. As we've already seen, secrets hidden in logos and brand names are everywhere. But this next one, it's packed with more hidden meanings than I can count. We're talking about one of the world's most popular citrusy sodas, the classic 7-Up. Nobody really seems to know for sure where 7-Up got its name, but there are plenty of theories floating around. Some say it comes from the original 7-ounce bottle size. Others think it's because 7-Up has 7 letters. But that seems a little too convenient, don't you think? One of the more believable theories, though, is that the number 7 was chosen as it relates to a list of 7 classes of ingredients in the original formulation. Those being lemon essence, carbonated water, sugar, citrus oils, citric acid, sodium citrate, and lithium citrate. And that last ingredient also reportedly serves as an explanation for the up in 7-Up. This soda's bottle caps used to proudly mention lithium citrate, a mood-stabilizing compound leading to the conclusion that the up hints at its uplifting effects. Eventually, though, the lithium was removed from the formula after the FDA banned its use in soda in the 1940s, as lithium could be poisonous if consumed in very large amounts. So there are a number of possible explanations for the name, but there's another mystery in the logo. What's with the red dot? It may seem like a simple eye-catching design choice, but some claim it very literally represents the red eyes of 7-Up's inventor, Charles Leiper Grigg, who many believe was albino. However, there's no evidence to support this urban legend, and while the only photos of Grigg are black and white, no official record suggests he had albinism or red eyes. So if it wasn't inspired by Grigg's eyes, what's the real reason for the dot? Turns out it didn't appear in the logo until the late 1960s, right in the midst of the golden age of advertising. Brands love using color psychology in their marketing, and red is known to promote energy and excitement, both feelings 7-Up wanted their customers to feel. 7-Up even turned their red dot into a mascot. They called this little guy Cool Spot, a walking sunglasses-wearing red dot featured in ads during the 80s and 90s. Pretty cool little fella if you ask me. It's also worth noting that at the time, 7-Up was marketing itself as the Uncola. So in addition to the clever branding move to make the logo pop, it's also possible the red dot was a subtle tactic to rival Coca-Cola's iconic red. Who's to say? Speaking of Coke, there's a hidden detail in their logo even the brand itself hadn't noticed. See the space between the O and L? Flip it around and it forms the flag of Denmark. While Coca-Cola was invented in the US, this happy accident became even cooler when Denmark was named the world's happiest country by the United Nations in 2013. To celebrate, Coke launched an airport campaign in Denmark including free flags to pick directly from the logo to welcome loved ones, tying an accidental design quirk into a perfect marketing moment. Can't beat a bit of free advertising, right? Especially when your ad is a whole dang country. A real head-scratcher. If you're anything like me, Lego's been a big part of your life at some point. Maybe it still is. I myself have been an avid Lego head for years, but recently I spotted something a little strange about some of my minifigures that sent me down quite the rabbit hole. You may have noticed that some Lego minifigures' heads have 3 holes inside while others are solid. Some even bear the Lego logo. On face value, this seems like a minor design quirk, but there's actually a specific and curious reason behind it. When Lego introduced minifigures in 1978, their heads featured a solid stud much like on Lego bricks. That was until 1992 when 3 open slits were inexplicably added inside the heads. Why? Well, around the same time, safety regulations began requiring pen manufacturers to add holes to their caps to reduce the risk of choking. As a brand for all the family, Lego likely followed suit, incorporating air passages as a safety feature, particularly for younger builders. However, between 2012 and 2013, Lego mysteriously reverted to solid minifigure head studs, replacing the holes with an inverted semi-hollow stud stamped with the Lego logo. But why would Lego remove a safety feature? Well, there are a couple of likely theories. For one, more recent studies have suggested the 3 small stud holes may not have provided sufficient airflow to be a meaningful choking prevention method. Not only that, but due to its shape, a round minifigure head could easily be ingested in any orientation, lodging sideways and rendering the holes useless. At worst, the holes could have provided fuel for some nasty lawsuits if the feature failed. Another possibility is the change was a method to battle fakes. As a major brand, Lego constantly sees counterfeit versions of itself popping up, but the 3-hole design left little space for branding. So Lego may have taken the opportunity to redesign the stud and stamp their logo as a mark of authenticity. Either way, if you've got your own collection, take a closer look at those heads. You might just have a little piece of Lego trivia worth bragging about. McHappy Hacks. Part meal, part mystery, and always delicious. Digging into a McDonald's Happy Meal is pure nostalgic bliss. While you might think the only surprise is the toy inside, turns out the box itself is hiding a clever design secret that even some McDonald's employees don't know about. Look closely at this Happy Meal box and you might spot a little tab about 2/3 of the way down. Pull it, and boom, the top of the box peels right off, transforming the bottom into a handy little tray. But has this nifty little feature really been hiding under our noses all along? Well, it's not that simple. Even some McDonald's employees claim to have never seen it, and for good reason. While the Happy Meal has been around since 1979, news of this handy tab only started popping up in certain locations around 2023. So far, it's been spotted mainly in the UK and Ireland, and it's reportedly yet to reach widespread status. So if you ever come across one, consider it a hidden Happy Meal McBonus. The surprises from the Golden Arches don't stop in Happy Meal boxes. Ever noticed how McDonald's fry boxes have curved bases? Some believe it's a sneaky design trick to make your fries look fuller than they actually are. By pushing the fries up higher in the middle, the curve creates the illusion of an overflowing box, even if there's less inside than your eyes and stomach think there is. It's a cool theory, but it's probably less of a sneaky scam on hungry customers and more of a well-kept structural secret. The curved base of McDonald's fry container actually serves a genius purpose in helping maintain the strength of the box while also making them easier to stack. Even the most ancient civilizations knew that arc shapes provide extraordinary structural support, and Ronald McDonald's is no different. And let's not forget this design isn't unique to McDonald's, and plenty of other fast food chains use it too. Is the curve on McDonald's fry container a little more dramatic than others? Maybe, but perhaps that's simply a clever tactic to mirror the iconic Golden Arches logo we all know and love. Button and play. Whether it's a quick trip to the grocery store or a day out at the ball game, many Americans wouldn't dream of leaving the house without a trusty baseball cap. While its origins are right there in its name, there's one often unnoticed part of the baseball cap that's a real hidden MVP. At the very top center of a standard baseball cap sits a small metal-covered button that's easy to overlook. Yet it's far from just a decorative detail. This tiny fixture serves a handy role, acting as a shield for the stitching that secures the 6 fabric panels of the cap together. It also prevents the angled ends of the panels from separating at their pointed tips where they otherwise may risk getting snagged. Surprisingly, the button covering this converging point even has a name: the Squatchy, a term popularized by former baseball player and broadcaster Bob Brenly. Brenly hated the top button on his cap for pressing into his skull mid-game, so he'd often just remove it altogether. However, Brenly didn't come up with the term himself. It seems a similar term for the button, Squatchoo, actually originated from Sniglets, a comedy book series from the 1980s featuring made-up words for things that didn't have names. So over time, and probably after a few rounds of the telephone game, Brenly ended up calling it the Squatchy. While modern caps don't really need a Squatchy for structural integrity, it remains a signature aesthetic detail. And the quirky name? That's just the cherry on top of this baseball cap-shaped conundrum. Pushing the envelope. In our digital world, we communicate mostly online. Nonetheless, the Postal Service is still very much alive and kicking. But think back to the last time you opened a letter. If you can remember, that is. You probably weren't just greeted with a letter, but also a quirky little pattern lurking inside the envelope. From swirls and stripes to waves and grids, these designs aren't just for fun and actually mean very serious business. Those funky patterns are specifically designed to keep your mail private by making it harder for anyone to peek at your sensitive information through the envelope. If you use a plain, unpatterned envelope, someone could easily hold it up to the light and decipher the text inside. Security patterns absorb light and obscure the contents, making snooping on what's inside far more difficult. So next time you open a letter, take a moment to appreciate the unsung hero of your mail, the humble security pattern, quietly fighting off prying eyes, one envelope at a time. Steamy revelations. Whether you're a coffee lover or not, you'll be familiar with the Starbucks logo. But next time you're sipping on a mouthwatering caramel macchiato, take a closer look at that green mermaid staring back at you. That's no ordinary mermaid. It's actually a siren, and her origins are darker than you think. Originating in Greek mythology, the siren was originally depicted as a bird with a woman's head before gradually evolving into the mermaid-like creature we recognize today. But unlike the sweet wide-eyed Ariel from The Little Mermaid, sirens in mythology were dangerous, seductive creatures who lured sailors to their doom with their hypnotic songs. And Starbucks? Well, they wanted their coffee to have the same irresistible pull. No, seriously. You see, when Starbucks launched in 1971, the original logo featured a much more revealing siren, suggestively holding her two split tails apart as a nod to some medieval depictions of sirens. Former CEO Howard Schultz even admitted this imagery was intentionally suggestive and that the siren was meant to be as alluring as the coffee itself. Over time, Starbucks softened the design, covering her up and zooming in to emphasize her face, with her twin tails fading into the background. Is it just me, or does knowing what's hidden just below the frame give me more anxiety than any amount of caffeine ever could? The whole truth. When it comes to snacking, few treats are as addictive as the classic Cheez-It. That crispy crunch and savory cheese flavor, it's pure snack magic. I can practically taste it now. But the next time you find yourself elbow deep in a family-sized box wondering what your life has come to, pause for a moment. Grab another one and take a closer look. You'll spot the familiar hole punched into the center of each Cheez-It. But here's the thing, it's not just there for decoration. It's a key design feature without which the iconic Cheez-It couldn't exist at all. Let me explain. This hole is known in the baking world as a docker hole. Docking is the process of puncturing the dough before it's baked, crimping its layers together. This allows steam to escape while the cracker bakes. Without docking, the air bubbles naturally forming in the dough could expand, causing the crackers to bulge or even explode in the oven. The number of docking holes needed depends on the size and shape of the cracker, but for Cheez-Its, just one does the trick. One tiny hole for one massively cheesy impact. Zip it. Almost every guy has faced that awkward moment, realizing your fly has been open for who knows how long. In fact, you might want to check yours right now. Just kidding. But while you're down there, take a closer look at your zipper. If you look carefully, you may just spot 3 tiny letters, YKK. If you've ever wondered what they mean, you're not alone. Nearly half of all zippers worldwide are stamped with those 3 little letters. So what gives? Well, YKK stands for Yoshida Kogyo Kabushiki Gaisha. That's Japanese for Yoshida Company Limited. This Japanese manufacturing powerhouse is responsible for producing an astonishing 7 billion zippers per year. From Gucci and Louis Vuitton to Nike and Levi's, YKK zippers are the industry standard, prized for their durability and reliability. Yet, despite making a hefty chunk of the zippers on Earth, YKK didn't invent the zipper. The first attempt at a sliding fastener came in the 1890s when Whitcomb L. Judson patented the clasp locker. But it wasn't until 1913 that Swedish-American engineer Gideon Sundback refined the design into what we now recognize as the modern zipper, before YKK came along in 1934. If you've ever, like me, been curious as to how a zipper actually works, here's the gist. As the slider moves along, it pulls the zipper teeth together at just the right angle for them to slot into each other, through perfectly sized gaps on the opposite sides. They're subsequently left at an angle where these gaps then close up, naturally locking the teeth in place after the slider is moved on. Satisfying. But to return to those 3 letters stamped on most of these nifty mechanisms, how did YKK take over the zipper world? Their secret is totally zipped up control. They make everything in-house, from the metal teeth to the machines that put them together. That means fewer zipper fails since every part is made to fit together just right. I guess you could say YKK didn't just zip up the market, they quite literally stamped their name all over it too. Domy dots. Back to more secrets hidden in recognizable logos now, but this time it's not just about 1 dot, but 3. Unless you're a diehard Pizza Hut home slice or Papa John's junkie, chances are you've received a pizza box or 2 stamped with Domino's iconic dotted branding. But have you ever stopped to wonder what those 3 little dots on the logo actually mean? At first glance, Domino's logo just looks like a regular old domino. But according to the pizza giants themselves, those dots actually represent the first 3 stores opened by founder Tom Monahan in the 1960s. Cool, right? But here's the kicker. The original plan was to add a dot for every new store that opened, and yeah, that didn't quite pan out. With over 20,000 locations today, they'd need a logo big enough to have its own delivery zip code. Though the idea of visiting a Domino's city does sound pretty dope. Another fast food themed logo mystery that's still up for debate is Wendy's. That familiar freckled redhead with her signature pigtails is a beacon for burger lovers everywhere. But can you spot the secret hidden within? Wendy's was founded in Columbus, Ohio in 1969 by businessman Dave Thomas. When choosing a name for his restaurant, he landed on Wendy, the nickname of his own daughter, Melinda. Her likeness became the face of the franchise, representing the wholesome, family-friendly values Thomas wanted to share. Over the years, the Wendy's logo has undergone minor redesigns, but Wendy herself has remained a constant presence. However, in the most recent version of the logo, which debuted in 2012, sharp-eyed observers have spotted a sneaky addition woven into the design. If you look closely at Wendy's blue collar, you might notice a familiar word subtly integrated into the folds of her ruffled collar: Mom. Given the company's family-oriented roots, this subliminal message would make a lot of sense to be intentional. However, Wendy's officials insist it was purely coincidental. I guess you could say Wendy's family-focused spirit is so strong, it even finds its way into the logo by accident. Credit curves. Have you ever looked at your credit card and thought, what's that little notch on the side? Perhaps not, but that's exactly why our next inconspicuous everyday design detail is so genius. While these odd cutouts aren't present on every card, more and more banks are incorporating them for a very specific and thoughtful reason. Manufacturers like MasterCard have started cutting different shaped notches into the sides of their cards to help people who are visually impaired easily identify the right one by touch alone. For example, MasterCard's debit card has a round notch, the credit card features a squarish notch, and the prepaid card sports a triangular notch. It's a small design element that quietly enhances everyday life for those who need it, often without most people even noticing. But even if you don't rely on this tactile guide, knowing about these notches could be a clever way to organize your wallet, making it easier to grab the right card without a second thought. A tiny secret with big value hidden in plain sight. You're welcome. Speaking of wallets, even they have some nifty secret features you've probably never given a second thought. If yours has these mysterious little squares, chances are you've never used them, but their real purpose might surprise you. Those little cutouts are actually SIM card holders, and if that sounds like a strange thing to keep in your wallet, let me explain. Back in the 2000s, international phone roaming fees were sky high and most carriers didn't offer the affordable global plans available today. So the best way to avoid an outrageous phone bill was to buy a local SIM card in each country and swap it into your phone for each trip. For frequent globetrotters, whether business travelers or backpackers, these slots kept extra SIMs safe and snug. These days, roaming plans are much more affordable, and instead of SIM swapping, you can activate a new plan digitally. Because of this, these slots are less common in modern wallets, and most wouldn't even hold today's tiny nano SIM cards anyhow. But that's not to say there's no use for them though. If you're a tech lover, for instance, you could fill up the slots with SD cards or even a Nintendo Switch game card. Now that's smart. Tricky tines. It sits in your kitchen drawer, blending in with the rest, just another fork in the crowd. But look closer. This one's different. One of its prongs seems off, like it's had a run-in with a garbage disposal. But this isn't an accident. That imperfection has a secret purpose. In the world of cutlery, nothing is random. Every prong, or tine if you're feeling fancy, and every blade and curve is designed with meticulous intent. So that funky fork with its subtly thickened leftmost tine? You're looking at a salad or dessert fork, a type of fork specifically engineered for one-handed eating. That reinforced tine? It's a built-in mini blade, perfect for slicing through leafy greens, cakes, or pastries with ease. And the tiny notch at the tip? That's the secret sauce. It makes the tine thick enough to cut effectively, but still sharp enough to pierce. Most of these forks favor right-handed eaters, but some, like this one, sport the modified tine on both sides for lefties of the world. No knife? No problem. A simple press, a well-placed push, and voila, you've got the perfect bite every time. Coolest fork. Lid links. Plastic drink bottles are one of the most basic everyday items out there, and I'll bet you rarely, if ever, give them a second thought. But if you grab a bottled drink in Europe, you might notice something strange. Instead of caps that screw fully off, these extra strips of plastic keep the cap attached to the bottle. In July 2024, the European Union introduced a rule requiring plastic bottle caps to stay tethered. The reason? Loose caps are one of the most commonly littered plastic items, often ending up in oceans. By keeping them attached, the idea is that more caps will make it through the recycling process instead of getting lost along the way and polluting the environment. For now, this rule is exclusive to the EU, though many UK brands are voluntarily jumping on board. In the US, not so much, though a few companies have started testing the waters. Even so, if you're used to fully removable caps, these new designs can come as a bit of a surprise, and Europeans haven't exactly had an overwhelmingly positive response to the change. They complain that the attached caps make drinking uncomfortable as the cap gets in the way, and to be honest, I get it. Plus, it's very easy to just rip the plastic and separate the cap anyway. It seems a little pointless to me, but let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Plugging puzzles. Plugging in your devices is such a routine part of daily life that it's easy to forget how much thought goes into the humble plug. But have you ever wondered why different countries use different plugs? For one, why does the UK use a 3-prong plug while the US often sticks with 2? Well, the answer goes back to World War II, but first, let's look at why the British plug is considered one of the safest in the world. There are 15 standard plug types worldwide, ranging from Type A to Type O. The UK uses the Type G plug, known for its chunky 3-prong design. The bottom 2 pins, live and neutral, carry electricity, but the real star is the earth pin at the top, which allows electricity to flow to ground in the case of a fault. This massively helps in preventing shorting and electric shocks. It's slightly longer, so it enters the outlet first, unlocking built-in safety shutters over the live and neutral slots. This makes it almost impossible to accidentally stick something metal inside the bottom 2 without first opening the earth pin slot. UK plugs also have partially insulated pins, preventing shocks if you touch them while unplugging, unlike US plugs where exposed prongs can be dangerous. So why the difference? Before World War II, UK outlets were often wired individually with their own fuses using a lot of copper wire. But during the war, copper became critical for ships and military equipment, leading to shortages. After the war, Britain needed to rebuild with less copper, so the standard house wiring became a looped system which required less wire, and the fuses were moved to inside each individual plug to accommodate the new system. Meanwhile, the US took a more gradual approach, sticking with simpler 2-prong plugs and later introducing the Type B plug with a grounding pin for added protection. Today, it's standard for new outlets in the US to be fitted with 3 holes to accommodate Type B plugs, but Type A plugs remain common since they still fit into modern sockets. But wouldn't a global plug standard be easier? In theory, yes, but switching would cost billions. And for a similar comparison, we all know how the USA feels about the metric system. So for now, when traveling globally, don't forget to pack your adapters. How did our latest round of Everyday Secrets stack up? Did we miss anything you think should have been in the mix? Let us know in the comments, and your suggestion could be featured in a future part of this series. As always, thanks for watching.